Crimewatch update.
Welcome back. There's a lot to tell you tonight on Photocall. 2, 3, possibly all 4 cases look like getting results. On the Karen Hales murder, a very, very strong response. And that's true of most of our cases this evening. The one where, so far, a bit of a disappointment is this chap here. This is a head found in Canal in Staffordshire, which has been matched to a body that was found in Manchester. And so far, we've only had 15 names put forward, and none of them have matched. More particularly, we haven't got calls from dentists or dental technicians, which you expected, on this guy's teeth. He has 6 crowns and a bridge, which are held together with a substance called Rexilium V. Now, it's not very common. If you're a dental technician and you help make these things up, please do give us a call now, 0500 600 600, 0500 600 600.
Well, now to that robbery in Kent, where the family were held hostage for 12 hours.
Calm down, calm down.
This was a really dreadful ordeal for them. And David Ross, you've been taking a lot of calls.
Yes, indeed. We've had over 120 calls, which is very, very positive. I'm very pleased.
You've had one similar case that you discovered this evening too.
Yes, unusually it was in Kent. A lady phoned up to say that she was a victim of robbery. The descriptions were very similar to those involved with her robbery. And in fact, she was handcuffed and jewellery stolen. So we'll be looking at that tomorrow.
Have you had any names for the descriptions?
A lot of interest in the postman one. The man, as viewers will recall, with the blonde wig, indeed, but with actually, that wasn't his real hair. He had light brown hair underneath, with piercing blue eyes. A lot of interest, and a lot of names have been given for his identity, which we'll be following up as well.
He almost certainly wore glasses. What about the other one?
The other one, the policeman, we've had a couple of calls on that, and in fact, again, giving names. The northern accents has generated a lot of interest, and also the military, particularly the watch involving that man who was masquerading as a policeman.
What would be really good if somebody had offered for sale to them those rings, because they have very distinctive hallmarks.
Yes,
they're
they
very
are.
rare, actually.
Yes, the platinum rings, which is unusual, and as much as I'm told the meltdown point for platinum is far in excess of gold. The hallmarks, particularly R&R, also the year, the stamp on the hallmark of 1993, Sheffield, I believe, is very unusual.
So there are only 12 of those made last year. If you recognise them, please give us a ring, or if you can help with any of those details. Thanks.
As I say, we had quite an interesting response to the murder of Karen Hales, the mother who was stabbed to death at her home in Ipswich, then set on fire with her baby in the room. Mercifully, the child survived. John Saunders, what's been a response so far in your words?
In terms of numbers, we've had an extremely good response, and but in terms of quality, it hasn't perhaps brought the response that we were looking for, although we have had 2 names come up from several different persons tonight who haven't featured in the inquiry before. That's in response to the EFIT. We've also had the name of a person brought to our notice again who has been of interest to us, so they're developments which we'll need to follow up tomorrow. What I am surprised at is that we haven't had a great deal of response in respect of our appeal for people with bloodstained clothing.
Whoever killed Karen, it's pretty certain, would have gone home that night. We're talking about Sunday the 21st of November. Sometime after 4 o'clock, he would have gone home and he would have had a lot of blood on him.
He would have done, and I would appeal for the people who would have seen that person to come forward.
It actually does sound pretty good, though. I mean, you've actually got quite a lot of names, and you say in a couple of cases the names are repeating.
Yes, that's true, and those, as I say, are 2 new names to the inquiry which we will be able to follow up.
Well, let's hope something comes of it. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Well, let's see how we've been doing on incident desk, David. The voice of the 999 caller after a burglary in Sussex. Anybody recognise that?
Well, strangely, only 4 calls on that one, Sue, but one of them in particular looks as though it might be interesting, so it could be a question of not quantity but quality.
Right. And what about the murder of the British rail steward, Basil Wycombe?
Yes, huge number of calls there, over 50 calls, a number giving names for the two men that we're seeking to trace. But what we don't want is any more calls on that bag that we featured. We now know the distributor, so please don't call us anymore about that.
And did anybody recognise the man who was wanted for the attempted rape attack in Lingfield in Surrey?
Over 30 calls there, a number of them giving names for the people involved, and also we've had some suggestions about the knife that was used to make the threat, that it's a professional knife, and we now know where that knife is distributed. Right. If you know someone who's lost one, that's what we're interested in.
David, thank you.
Next, the stabbing of a magistrate, Ahmed Chowdhury, who was coming home from work on Saturday the 15th of January. He runs some restaurants in Bath and Bristol, but when he got back to his house in St James's Park and went to his front door, he was attacked by two men who'd been waiting for him.
Help! Help!
At that stage, it was sort of early Sunday. He was very badly injured, arm wound which nearly killed him. What sort of response have you had?
We've had nearly 40 phone calls now. We've had 20 in Bath and 19 in the studio here.
Now, I've just seen, actually, underneath here, this batch is marked good. How good are they?
That's right. Well, we've got one very good new line to follow up regarding a possible motive. Something new, something we haven't investigated up to now, something we'll be following up.
Was the really elusive thing.
That's right.
This is an entirely new line.
Yes, very interesting, yes.
What about the people involved?
We've had several phone calls suggesting different names.
There was a white guy first. Well, there were two. There was a white guy and an Asian guy.
That's right.
The white guy first.
Yeah, we've had 3 separate people ring up with one name for the white man, and 2 people have rang up separately regarding a name for the Asian man.
So there are 2 names repeating. It looks as though this guy's wearing a wig, of course. And the Asian chap, any repeating names on that one?
Yes, we've had one name suggested twice.
And I mean, in your bones, have you got a good feeling about what's coming in tonight, or do you think actually there's going to be an awful lot of work which may end up with nothing?
This is the best progress we've made so far, so I'm reasonably confident now we can get somewhere with this.
Good. Well, let's hope you do. Sue.
Well, photocall cases have been doing quite well, haven't they?
Yeah, we're very pleased generally. The first man, remember, Colin Anderton, we were looking to speak to him about the murder of Julie Hughes in, in January in Cambridge. We've had several leads, some giving possible sightings, and a couple of calls in particular look very promising. They involve his past history and where he came from, and they'll be followed up, I'm sure. But if you know where he is tonight, please give us a call. Secondly, we're looking for James Patrick McHale, the manager of Tirewise in Great Yarmouth. Wanted to speak to him about some thefts and deceptions. Although we've had 8 calls here to the studio, nothing at present has taken us that much further. But have another look at him. He may or may not still be with his wife Dawn. Again, if you know where they are tonight, give us a call. Number 3, the man we looked at was the Leicestershire robber, wanted for a series of robberies last summer. The last one being in Odeby. We've had 8 calls so far on this appeal, several names suggested, in fact 2 are the same, so that's always good news for us, and obviously looks very hopeful. More news perhaps next month on that one. Lastly, Richard John Whiteside, he was the man we wanted to speak to about theft and the use of stolen credit cards in the northwest area. Again, he travels a lot on the intercity trains, and in fact we have had a lot of sightings on British rails, as we thought. One call in particular giving recent information has excited the officers. I wish I could say more, but it is being followed up, and perhaps again good news next month.
All 4 cases looking quite promising.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Indeed, do remember the lines here are still open, and we'll be taking calls until midnight. We will give other numbers too in a moment if you've ever had difficulty getting through. These are direct lines to the police. Most of them are open 24 hours a day. Whether you can ring and help or not, do please remember the sort of crimes we show are most uncommon. Don't have nightmares. Do sleep well. Good night.
Good night.
If you thought you'd seen it all in Casualty, think again.
You have a nice long sleep.
Accidents still happen.
Your pupils are fixed and dilated.
Operations go wrong.
2 in 2 days. Twice in 2 days is just our lousy luck.
A medical thriller of the first degree starring Michael Douglas and Geneviève Boujol. Tomorrow, 10:40, BBC One.
Highlights from the day's racing at the Cheltenham Festival in half an hour here on BBC One after a meeting with